Ladies and gentlemen, welcome everybody. A very warm welcome here to the next race. We are in USA. My name is Steiny, and I am your main commentator today in CRC III. And on my side, we have once again Mr. Bumpje himself from. Well, welcome, Bumpje. How are you feeling today? Beautiful.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Luca. It is looking very sunny in the state of Texas here. I'm looking forward to it. I'm feeling good. I hope the drivers are feeling good as well for the race coming up for them. Yeah, the sun is out. It is dry, unlike some qualifying sessions in other divisions we saw already. So the rain is definitely not out of the cards yet. Maybe even for the race as well. But this track promises to be a very good race.
Absolutely. We are very excited. We are looking at a very tricky track here today. Why don't we have a more precise look at the track? We are in USA at race number 4, and as you can see, it is in Austin. We have 20 turns, a very challenging track. If you use ABS, it's a lock-up party, and it is a time penalty and warnings party as well, especially in the S section. Sector 1, we have 5.5 kilometer distance, and we are going to race 28 laps. Last time out, we had in Tier 1, the last winner was CRL AJ, and in Tier 2, we had little Juan. In the same tier as we were racing today, Tier 3, Infinite Glory, anymore with us, but he took the victory last time out. And in Tier 4 we had J-Wills S40 who took the victory. Before we're gonna go on the first lap, we have a quick look on the calendar as well. Race number 4, we have a USA, just followed by Brazil as well, coming up next week ahead of Silverstone. So very tricky tracks, and we are going to jump on the first car as well, who is the little Juan. He is currently down the straight in Sector 2 and is looking very promising. The beautiful red Ferrari approaching now. Next turn, braking a little bit late, missing the apex. Sweeping to the left hand side, gets the purple. Second sector, staying in second gear, third gear, fourth gear upshift. Making sure not to brake too late. It didn't miss the apex. Sweep from the left all the way to the right hand side. Kisses the apex on the right. Stays a little bit into the middle before he goes to right, to left hand side. A lot of sweeping around, changing the directions. Little Juan is approaching the start and finish line, and the time to set is a 1:33.428. Everyone, a very warm welcome. Please let me know if everything's working fine with the audio. If you want to watch anyone as well, put it in the comments. Bumpy, who are you watching? There are many cars out on track at the moment.
There definitely are. I think it is Williams next across the line, but that is Mazel starting his lap. I'm not particularly watching anyone, but I'm certainly keeping my eye out on Fandango. I think he has put some very promising times in the lead up to this race, so I'm really backing him for a good result here, if his internet of course keeps being stable, unlike it was the last few races, unfortunately for him. But as I saw as well in the comments, it is gonna rain at the beginning of the race, and further on in the race it is gonna be dry, as Fandango loses the rear already coming out of turn 1. So the back of the Williams is looking a bit unstable, as Marconi has gone first, as Mario Huntsman, exactly as I say that, beats his time by over 3/10, as Nacho as well goes into first. So we're seeing the times now putting on the board into the 32s already. Let's see if anyone can improve on that.
It's a very, very tricky track, and Alpha is now putting the fastest lap time down. 32.617 is currently the quickest time on the board. We are watching Dragon, well, who had a very, very impressive pace. Last race was in front by himself a long time. Let's see what he can do this race. We saw some good pace from him already. A little lock up there, but very, very challenging. Totally different line that you're used to. Beautiful cut over the apex on the left hand side, and now just 2 more turns to make. First, a very quick left-hander, just a quick brake, going down to 4th gear, staying on the right curb, braking on the marker board on the right hand side, and staying on the curb on the exit as well. It's a 33.5. That is a big difference so far to the other cars around. Let's see what Leon is gonna do as well. He is the current championship leader, as we can have a look at that as well right now. Last time we did have Riordan, who finished P1, who took the 40 points. Very, very strong performance from him. Quick Killer as well, P2. If I can actually make this graphic work, that would be amazing. There we go. And Nachos P3. Very, very impressive finish. Leon unfortunately didn't collect any points at all. And that race, the WCC standings, currently Red Bull is on 423 points, just ahead of Aston Martin. And Alpha Tauri is shortly followed as well here. Let's have a look at the driver championship here in tier 3. Leon is still ahead with 80 points. Mark Wilson 68 points just behind, and Quickler improved his position by a lot now. 53 points on the same amount as Nacho and Riordan, if I actually see that right. Very, very close, and very close as well. Here on track is Leon's time at the moment, P9, actually P8 dropped down because McConey, I think it was, no, it was not, it was Nacho. Someone jumped ahead of him, and I think, yes, it was Fandango.
Fandango, indeed. As I said, he is very fast around this track, and he is showing it so far this race, this qualifying session. But some other things to mention: we have had 2 driver changes since the last race. We have had Craigo and Mimamuni both dropping to tier 4, which probably better suits their pace. So they are going to be looking to do some good results there. As FRL Alpha, one of the reserves today, luckily he could jump in the Mercedes car to at least have 19 drivers. Not a full grid, unfortunately, but 19 drivers is still very close to a full grid, so the race shouldn't be any less entertaining because of it. But continuing my sentence, Craigo and Moody both dropped to tier 4, and we have had the little one taking the full-time seat in that Ferrari car, replacing Craigo. And KXIU unfortunately can't be here today, but he has raced here before in France, I can remember at least. He has taken that full-time seat in the Haas car, so they'll be looking to do very good on their debut.
We are looking currently Tango, who's actually going in the box after good time, currently very, very close, and front top 3 own and separated. Let's have a look who's quick lap at the moment. I think winner as well, and Headshock. Now Jacko is well. Yeah, let's look at this time. Currently a 10th slower. Now after the first long straight. CRS automatic fire braking. Okay, a little bit up. Let's
I don't think there's anyone. Maybe AFL in the first sector now, with those S sections, very easy to invalidate it because you really have to cut those curbs to line up the next corner. But he has kept it valid so far, and he has posted the time. I just managed to miss it, but now he is going to the hairpin onto the main straight, where you really want to have as low wings as possible, while of course also be fast in the corners, so you don't get swallowed up in the race by every car just flying past you with their low wings. But now the end of the long straight into turn 12, he really can cut the inside curb, but he has missed the apex a bit, so that is gonna cost him some time. That isn't gonna be the best lap we've seen so far this qualifying session. Turn 15 now as well, you really want to take a wide entry, but he has also taken a wide corner apex, and that is gonna cost him more time, as he hasn't had the best lap so far. Now the penultimate corner, turn 19, he has also easy to invalidate there, but he has kept it valid. The last corner, he goes slightly deep once again. He rounds the final corner, and it is P12, so indeed not the perfect lap from him, as I think there was Warrior Huntsman jumped up some positions right behind him.
absolutely, and I did have to change my microphone as well. Unfortunately, there were some issues. I hope that is a little bit better right now. And fortunately, I do apologize for the inconvenience. We have Jacko as well now, making up to P8. I hope that is working better now with the sound. Always we have some difficulties, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we have some more cars as well out on track, and I think one of them is Little Juan, currently on purple first sector, looking very strong so far, keeping a minimum pace through the apex and approaching now the long straight, where it's important to get early on the throttle to have a quicker exit.
Just interrupting you there, Quick Killer has managed to go P2 with a 32.5, so he is very close to the time of FRL Alpha, the only one really to challenge the Mercedes so far.
Absolutely, very strong times coming from a few drivers out on track. Little Juan as well, still another purple sector. This time it's the second one. Hopefully the game is not wrong on that part. And we are seeing a very good time at the moment. Little Juan approaching the last turn, coming across the line, and is only P7 with 4 tenths, well, actually 5 tenths improvement, so very well done from him.
Indeed, well done. Only 7 drivers now into the 32s. We can't really include Leon and Marconi Riordan as well into that list, although they are very close into the 32s, just on the 33.0. But as we see as well, Fandango and Alpha already decided to retire in the pit lane. They have faith that their lap time is going to be quick enough to get themselves into Q2. And I think they are right with that conclusion. Anyone into the 32s now, I think, should be safe. But anything can happen, of course, with Hedgehog, the only one who is still to post a lap time.
Wonderful, and we did have some comments as well. Thank you very much for everyone in the comments. I hope that is a little bit better with the microphone now, as we could hear. We have a few drivers still on the lower part. Timo Tiptop is actually, did he crash out? I think he did crash. Last turn, very unfortunate for Tomo Tiptop, currently P15, not able to make another lap here.
I was just on board with Murphy, and it looks like Tomo Tiptop have crashed in the pit lane, going into the pit lane, so I'm not really sure what happened to him. Maybe he locked up his tires or just went too ambitious into the pit lane, but that is him out.
very unfortunate that the pit lane entry is very tricky. If you just brake a little bit too late, or if you lock up your tires, it is very easy for you to get and to crash into the walls on the pit entry. AFL currently now on track, finished sector 1. He needs to put down a solid lap time. Let's have a look at the time difference that he has to do. He has improved by still a lot. Now coming down the DRS straight, nice and smooth. The game doesn't give us any purple sector. Instead, he gives us a yellow flag, as we have a car going slow there, letting people by, which is always amazing to see. A little bit late braking from AFL, goes very wide and invalidates his lap time, but he still has some more time to go as well. Let's have a look at Mark Wilson, how he's doing just behind, and he's looking strong. The game is showing purple sector number 2. Let's hope that he'll be able to get everything and bring the time over the line, because he's currently P17. Last turn approaching, now staying on the right hand side on the curb, braking around 75 meter roughly, and staying on the right hand side on the exit, puts himself up to P12, which pushes Tomo Tip Top down into P16, and AFL actually went into the box and retired. So unfortunately for him, he is out of qualifying 1. Hedgehog is still on P19. Surprising for a great driver like himself, who we saw multiple times on the podium. Let's hope that he'll be able to put his car into the top 15 to continue his drive. Currently in 4th gear, 5th gear, braking down to 2nd gear, to extra rotation up to 3rd gear, 4th. Quick upshifting here from Hedgehog, as you can see him sweeping and through the right hand, and got a little bit of damage there, I assume. And we'll see if he's able to get another lap time. He has time, it just depends on his damage, and he has no fuel anymore. Unfortunately for him, that is it for him. And we have only Murphy now out, P18, hoping to get out of Q1. This is his last try. Let's stay on board with him.
Indeed, he's the only driver really that can cause a danger to Gauthier Levelon, who has invalidated his lap, so he won't be improving. So Murphy needs to improve by a little bit over 4/10, as he only improved by 400s in the 1st sector. Let's hope he can find something in the 3rd sector, in the 2nd sector as well, to put that AlphaTauri into Q2.
There we go, Murphy coming down the DRS straight, activated the DRS, braking around 100 meters. He's gonna cut the curb, he's not staying off the curb to get a bit more stability on his car. Once again showing a very good time here from the game, as he just passed the McLaren car on track. It is time for him to be able to put himself up to P15 or better if he wants to stay in the contention for a good starting grid. Now approaching last turn, braking on the meter board on the right hand side, staying on the right hand side. What time can he do? And he's P15 with a 33.5. Now he made it through, and that is it. Unfortunately, Gauthier, Lefelong, Tomo Tip Top, AFL and Hedgehog were not able to make it into Q2.
Yeah, Hedgehog, the only one who didn't even manage to settle lap time. It isn't the season we were expecting to see from the Mercedes driver. So far, of course, he won Tier 4 last season out. The champion isn't really finding his feet here in Tier 3 so far this season. Let's hope he can quickly turn his fortunes around, maybe even in today's race, where of course, it is a race. It is 50% race. I think it is 28 laps around here. So you have to navigate your way around the S section 28 times. It is a tough ask for every driver. So maybe he can pick up some scraps from that.
Well, definitely hope so. It's a very, very challenging track. As you said yourself, a track where you need to be 100% focused during your entire race, 28 laps. And if you just go wide on one little turn a little bit too much, you collect one warning. It is very easy for you to do this once again and to collect a second warning. And if you are just uncareful for a little bit too long, time penalties is something that you will see a lot here in USA. We are now in Q2 with 15 drivers. It looks still beautiful outside here. We have some clouds as well, but also beautiful sun. As for now, we don't have any rain in qualifying, but we did hear that we have some rain at the beginning of the race. But before we are jumping into Q2, we have the opportunity to have a look at the point system at CRL. So let's have a quick look at that. Of course, we have from P1 all the way down to P15 will give points. P15 gets 1 point and P1 gets 40 points. You really want to finish in the top 5 to get maximum amount of points during your entire championship. And we have 3 races where we have sprint qualifying as well. We had one last time out in Italy. Extremely interesting race it was. Very, very challenging as well for all the drivers. You have to fully focus on the one shot, then a 25% race plus a 50% race behind without having a proper break. Only 5 to 10 minutes max. Very, very challenging sprint race. But of course we also have the 1 additional point for the fastest lap if you finish in the top 10. This time
it's a very interesting point system. It can spice a lot of things up. As I was watching drivers on the outlap, 3 drivers on mediums, and one of them, a wild dog in a Ferrari, has spun already. I don't think he has wing damage, and he almost went around again, but that won't do his tires any good. Of course, if you progress into Q3, you have to start on the tires you did your best lap on in Q2. So if he wants to start on mediums, it is not a good start for him.
definitely the decision here from a few drivers is clear. They want to try it on the mediums, but everyone else is on soft and everyone is out of the pit now as well. We do know that there is some sort of track evolution and everyone is going to help the track to increase it straight away. We're watching Marconi currently in the Haas, looking very, very strong. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to pick up and show his pace that he definitely has over the last couple of occasions. But you can see by his car control and the way that he's sweeping through the turns that this man definitely knows what to do and is just touching the curbs here and there, going on the curb on the right hand side, through the left side, all the way back, and once again touching the apex on the middle on the left hand side to sweep over to the other side. And his first lap time is a 32.8. Let's have a look at the other drivers and what they can do. Massels is third to cross the line. Fandango improved by 32.1. Massels put himself up to P3. There's a Ferrari as well of Little Juan. We have Quick Killer is starting his lap time. No, actually, he finished on a 32.2, just ahead of Leon, extremely close already between the top 3 Warriors Huntsmen. 32.8, very strong. We have another Aston Martin as well. No, that's an Alfa Tauri. What am I talking about today? AlphaTauri of Jekyll in P8 at the moment, and also a McLaren starting his lap time of Dragon himself. Wow, very close to the top 3 so far, just a few tenths.
Yeah, it's looking very close, and I think I saw the clouds getting a bit darker, and of course everyone heading out straight away. I thought in my head it was maybe gonna rain already in qualifying, and I'm now getting confirmation in the chat as well that it is gonna rain in qualifying a few minutes in. So maybe the drivers who haven't got a lap time on the boards right now are in a bit of trouble with the rain setting in. But no, it's still dry enough, of course, to go for a lap and set it in perfect conditions. But it is cloudy, so looking very interesting to see if the drivers like Wildog and Murphy, who went into the pit before even setting a lap time, I think they both went out on medium tires as well. I think they realized the rain is gonna come. Maybe we need to go on the soft tires, just get a fast lap time in as soon as possible, so we don't get caught out by that rain. Heading out of the pit now, and Dragon on speed. Final corner for him to set a lap time. He surely has to do something good to get himself in the that top 10, and he goes P10 just behind Nacho and Riordan. Looking very close so far, especially the top 4, and then P5 to P13 all the way. It's very close. Exciting for the race.
Very close, and as you were talking about changing the tires from medium back to softs, Mark Wilson is still out apparently. I do think that he's gonna jump into the pit as well straight away, as he does needs to change up to soft tires to get himself up to better positions. Let's have a look around who's still out on track and on a fast time. Alpha is starting his lap time right now, so let's see if he can improve his time. Currently P4, very good, but he doesn't need to perform that much as Wild Dog and Murphy have to. Wild Dog just in second sector, beginning third now, just behind Nacho, currently on the outlap. Hopefully it's not going to start raining too soon, as we heard from our chat, and a huge thank you as well for everybody who is still watching as well. This time we have 14 people currently in the chat. Absolutely amazing to have you here. Of course, once again we did have a few issues there with the audio. Hopefully we'll have a day where we can say that we don't have this issue anymore, but absolutely amazing to see all of you in the chat and put the name of the driver that you're supporting in the chat down below. We always love to see the support, and it's great to have you here. Currently Wild Dog P14, no lap time so far. His first attempt out in sector 1 is looking very smooth, sweeping from the left to the right hand side. Now on the exit, approaching the DRS zone. Of course, you will get DRS braking around 75 meter, 80 meter if you want to be safe, or a little bit more. Now the long straight. There are some different ways as well of taking the curbs on the right hand side. Wild Dog decides to stay on track to be rather safe than sorry. 100 meter about braking on the right hand side, going very wide. Once again, changing the track side from right to left, staying third gear, fourth gear. You want to upshift early, not to lose the car too much, because if you're too eager on the throttle as well, it will catch you out. Rider currently P15, 2 more turns for him to do. Once again, a quick downshift, goes very wide, goes off track there a little bit. Does he lose some time, and is he able to improve? And he's just about missed the opportunity for Q3 on his first attempt. Currently P11.
Just over a tenth behind McLaren of Dragon on speed. but I wonder when the rain is gonna kick in. If it is within 1, maybe 2 minutes, I think Wildog and Murphy are in a very big amount of danger. They're of course already not in Q3 right now as it stands, but with the rain you can't improve your lap time compared to the dry little one. Is I think he is on a lap as we speak right now, so maybe he can knock Dragon out and put Nacho into that risk spot of P10 in Q2.
Lil Juan looking strong. We saw him improving his time as well in the other sector 2 and sector 1. I think went well as well. Now coming across the line, and it did improve his time to 32.994 up to P8. Who else is out? We have Nacho, a podium sitter from last race, once again out, currently P10. He needs to improve his time before the rain is approaching, question mark, or is it enough time for all of their drivers to set their best lap time before any water is dropping from above? Sweeping around, staying in 6th gear down to 5th gear. The S section very risky and very tricky as well. He is improving by 1/10 at the moment. On the exit had to do a slight correction, but now he can relax a little bit on the straight. He did miss the apex there slightly, which will cost him a little bit of time on the exit and being early on the throttle. 3 minutes 50 remaining. Nacho approaching next turn, braking 100-meter board. Very smooth, staying in 2nd gear. We've seen some drivers staying in 3rd gear. He's preferring the 2nd gear, and you can see it in lap time as well, improved by almost 5/10 here. Very smooth. Once again, 2nd gear. Really likes to stay in low gears to get earlier on the throttle, but you need to be very careful, and he is definitely very careful. Very quick sweep over the curb on the left hand side, just about miss it. Is he gonna touch the curb? Yes, just a little bit of stroking on the curb, and he improved his lap time up to P6. Looking very good and strong once again this week.
Definitely is. I think he is safe with that lap time. Of course, only 3 minutes now remaining in this session. The pressure is really on for the drivers, especially those in the drop zone like Dragon on Speed. He couldn't improve his time, but someone who could improve his time and did was Wildog. He jumped up to P6, and some time ago Mazzles as well. He has gone to P4, only less than 2/10 down on Fandango. So I'd say the top 4 definitely safe, but everyone behind is in a bit of a precarious situation with their lap times, and maybe the drivers behind them improving, like Dragon on Speed. He has done a purple sector 1, at least the fastest out of everyone who is in the drop zone. Murphy, he has broke a little bit of his front wing, so he is out of qualifying. I dare to say only 2 minutes left. His right end plate is missing, so that's definitely qualifying over for one AlphaTauri driver, and the other one is just entering sector 3. He was 5/10 down though on his lap time, so I think he can't improve. Also low on ERS. I think this game over for both AlphaTauris. Dragon on Speed is one to keep an eye on. P12 currently has a little bit of a slide, but he corrected it well enough. I think it is gonna be an improvement for him, and maybe going into that top 10, knocking the little one out, but the Ferrari driver is on an outlap. So it is all to play for in this dying stages of Q2. Where can Dragon on Speed go? He is going wide, almost invalidated on the last corner, and he hasn't improved because of it. Just over half a tenth down, and he has backed off the throttle. So Dragon on Speed is also out. He looked very strong in the opening few rounds of the season, but now it is qualifying over for him. P12 at best. Wildog heading into the pit. He's definitely through, with Murphy as well into the pit. So it's gonna be Mark Wilson, Riordan, Little One, and McConey. Rory Huntsman as well, maybe, who has invalidated. the Alfa Romeo driver to battle for a spot in Q3 as Riordan and the little one just starting their lap time, as is Mark Wilson. So it is, I think, an Alfa Romeo driver, Warrior Huntsman. He is indeed invalidated. And then Alfa, I think, is the first one on the lap. So let's see what he can do.
Absolutely, Alpha currently in P5, looking very, very strong, just about behind Mazzles, with a small gap to his fellow racer in P4. Alpha improved his lap time up to P2, very, very strong, but all eyes are currently on Riordan, Dragon, and Wilson. Actually, it's Little Juan, Riordan, and Mark Wilson, the only three drivers who are still in risk, with McConey included. Let's see who can improve the lap time, who will be able to stay in qualifying. McConey has a very strong position at the moment. We just saw a purple second sector as well. McConey improved his lap time by 4/10, looking very, very strong so far. We have Riordan, the next one to go over the start finish line, just shortly followed by Little Juan fighting through the third sector, as we just see some drops of rain as well. So just slightly, very, very quick on the screen. Riordan up to P8 and Little Juan up to P8 once again.
As Mark Wilson, he has spun in that long right-hander, so he is out of qualifying, P15 for the Alpine driver. And it is Warrior Huntsman, the only one who can maybe knock his teammate out of qualifying, but I think he has run out of fuel. And with the rain coming, he won't be improving his lap time. So Riordan just on the edge of elimination, but he has put a lap time that is sufficient to make it through to Q3 at the expense of his teammate Warrior Huntsman.
Oh wow, what a qualifying. I think this is Alfa Romeo as well being split here. We have Warrior Huntsman unfortunately not making it through. Of course, I have to correct myself. We have Riordan up to P10 and Little Juan up to P8. And McConey improved his time, as we saw on screen, by a lot of 4/10. And now the rain is coming as well, which is going to make Q3 even more interesting. Question is it going to go straight onto wet, or are we going to be able to stay on dries and slicks at the beginning and call it a night earlier in qualifying 3 session? But this is qualifying 2. Let's have a look at the driver who didn't make it. Unfortunately, Mark Wilson is still shown for medium tire out of qualifying 2, as well as Jacko, Murphy, Dragon, and Warrior Huntsman. All of them are unfortunately not able to go through. Warrior Huntsman, teammate Alfa Romeo, teammate Riordan, P10, Nacho P9, Little Juan P8, P7, Wild Dog McConey P6, Mazzers P5, Leon, the current championship leader, P4. Stay close to your rivals. Quick Killer P3, Alpha P2, and Fandango P1 at the moment, looking very, very close in the top 5, I think it was. Who's going to be able to take the pole position for the race? Let us know down in the comments who you support. Let us know who you would like to see, and we're gonna do our very best to help you out. But I think the drivers need some help themselves here. We do see some raindrops, so I expect every single driver to head out straight away, and Quick Killer indeed is the very first one. The other cars are still in. It do take a little bit longer, and I wonder if this is already getting a little bit too wet, as I think I start to see some, I think that paddocks, how are they called, if there's like
Puddles.
water? Paddles, that was the word.
Yeah, I think the drivers indeed are heading out on soft tires, but I don't think it is really wise thing to do. I think the track is going to be too wet to settle up on the slick tires, and you're better off going onto inters, I dare to say.
Absolute, and we can definitely tell stories, because if you have watched the race in Tier 1, for example, we did have very bad weather as well, but it was in qualifying 1 where we thought it was a slick time. Everyone went out, all 18 drivers went out on slick tires, just 2 drivers stayed in and waited, and yeah, it was wrong. All of us went back into the pit straight away to change the tires up to Inter. So a small spoiler ahead if you haven't watched Tier 1. So far it is and it has been a very interesting race in USA, as Quickler has to do a big correction here. Very good catch from him. Hopefully he's going to be able to make his way around safely. We'll keep an eye on DRS as well if it's going to close up. But to finish it up, the weather can be very, very tricky here in USA. And we hope that the drivers are going to make it through in one piece. Quickler now in our first attempt to make a quick time, shortly followed by Mazzles and Fandango as well. So 3 very quick drivers trying to get themselves up on the early on the board. Very, very smooth from Quickler around the turns of the S section. Very risky. A small correction as well once again on the exit, but very, very controlled. Braking a little bit earlier, trying not to go on the apex because the apex curb, because the curbs are very, very slippery in this game, especially if it's wet on top. We still have DRS. Yes, it is not wet enough, and we have a DNF as well already. We have Nacho crashed himself out in the S section.
I think it was turn 2, maybe even. I think he lost the car on turn 2, maybe the inside curb, and then just spun around, hit the wall, lost his tire, and that is P10 for the Alpine driver. It is very tricky indeed at the turn 2. You can't really take it full throttle if it is raining a little bit. But I think he just was pushing a bit too hard, and he has paid the price for that. Quickler now comes across the line. We won't be seeing a 32, I don't think. Now it is a 36, but it was definitely the time to go on soft.
Absolutely, Muscles as well, just about behind him at 36.5. Let's see what Fandango is going to be able to do, and it's going to be a little bit slower, 36.7. So we'll see that the times are already increasing. The question is has it been too late for the other drivers? We see big gaps. Are we going to see the same gaps as well on the times? And no, Leon is proving us very wrong, as well as Little Juan. Both have an amazing pace so far. It's a 35.49 for Leon. Provisional pole position with Little Juan just about behind. That must be 2 tenths, almost exactly 2 tenths. 2 tenths behind P1. Strong performance, and also strong performance from Makoni up to P3. And let's see what Wild Dog is able to do. He puts himself up to P4. Very close times indeed so far. Alpha is the next driver to cross the line. He's fighting his Mercedes around the turn, but looking very smooth there. The cut over the curb, and once again takes a lot of curb on the entry and on the exit. Absolutely beautiful, and his time is confirming it. Absolute astonishing 34.6. 8 tenths quicker than Leon.
Wow, that is insane to see, but I think Leon is on for an even better time, almost 2 seconds improving on his time in sector 2, as just behind him Little One has invalidated. But if Leon keeps this up, it is gonna be, I think, into the 33s, maybe even. It's very solid lap time, maybe even the rain is easing off a bit. I see the puddles, they are disappearing, and indeed it is into the 32, so the conditions are improving, as opposite to what we thought was gonna happen. The rain is easing off, so maybe the ones who kept it out late, like Riordan, are in the best position, and maybe just going out at the exact moment so you cross the line at that 0 seconds, so you have the best lap time, can prove pivotal for claiming pole position here.
Absolutely, that's gonna make everything even more interesting. We had a wet start and it's gonna dry up. Currently a 1.6 seconds different from P1 to P2, but these times are gonna massively decrease now. As we saw, the track dried up now a little bit more. We can't see any rain on our display anymore, or the driver helmets, whatever point you prefer. Wild Dog is now taking the opportunity to once again to set a lap time and improve his time, but unfortunately he could not, and he's doing some spins. Not the best thing to do for yourself, for your time and your tires. He has to go around the track once again, and I think that is everyone heading into pit. I was about to say, as Fandango, it was very close of continuing just on the last turn. He just broke a little bit too late, and it was very surprising. Let's have a look. Is Leon still fast? No, he's not. He's heading into the pit as well as Wild Dog is going to.
This is the time of Q3 where everyone is settling down, time to have a cup of tea. If you're in England, have something else wherever you're from, and just sit back, relax, get something to eat, because no one is really going out. They really want to keep it out until the latest possible moment. But that is the tricky thing with this track, especially. If you leave it until you only have one chance, only one shot, it is tricky to really nail that lap, because invalidating is so easy here, especially turn sector 1, but turn 19 as well. The penultimate fast left-hander isn't the easiest corner to navigate your way around either, so that can really improve the pressure. As we see now, the drivers heading out of the pits again, they don't want to feel that kind of pressure, and I think the track is fully dry again, so they will have time for 2 runs on a full dry track. So let's see what potential they have and if they can fulfill that potential. Now Fandango, as I was saying, I still back him to grab pole position. He was fastest in Q2, and I think he was fastest in the build-up as well to this race as well. Doug is steadily going into the pit at around 100 kilometers per hour, just really doing a tour of the circuit, as now he speeds up. So he is going for another run, maybe just saving his fuel. But I don't think that's maybe the best thing to do, because now he is on worn tires and he won't have time to go into the pit and do another run. So his best time will be on worn tires, or it will be in wet conditions, and both aren't what you really want to be having yourself in qualifying 3. So let's keep on board with him through the S6. He misses the apex there and almost invalidates, but if even worse, he loses the car, and that is into the wall with that Ferrari, into the Pirelli borders, and that is qualifying over, I dare to say, for Wild Dog, the Belgian driver in the Ferrari. Now making his way back to the grid, back to the track, to maybe, if he doesn't have damage, of course he can continue, but I think his fuel icon is flashing as well. So I dare to say that is the best time Wild Dog can put up the board. His Fandango is now as well in sector 1, hitting the curbs very nice, and now coming back on yourself through that turn 6, that is, onto turn 7 and turn 8. He hits the apexes very nicely, doesn't invalidate here. That's also a thing you can do. Going into the hairpin, turn 11, braking just after the 100 meters, hitting the curb on the inside, short shifting to third, and then continue your way up the gears up until your 8th gear, where you hit around 315 kilometers per hour on this main straight, as he does exactly that. Hits the inside curb as well. You can cut that corner a bit more, but it is tricky. You can invalidate as well, as he goes purple, but of course what we expect to see. I think the first driver on a fully dry track, and Alpha following him close. I missed his sector 2 time, but they all battle that for pole position in this first few lap times coming flying in. As flying in now does Fandango as well into the penultimate corner, almost invalidates it, comes very close, and just missing the apex on the last corner, but it does look pretty fine, and he goes into the low 32s, but I know he can do faster. He has shown us he can do faster in Q2 as well. As Alpha goes first by almost 4/10 difference to the Williams driver. What a lap time from him.
What an incredible lap time from both drivers, improved their times by a massive amount. We're watching Quickler coming across the line. Unfortunately not able to improve his time. Riordan jumps up to P3. The times are smashing it on the board. Leon is once again extremely fast as well. Let's see if he can improve his lap time and jump up some positions. Wild Dog, as you were talking about before, has now seen the checkered flag, the very first one for qualifying, which means he can't race again. But Leon improved his lap time by so much and is so close behind Alpha. It's nothing. 0.023 seconds. What a time from the Red Bull driver. The Haas driver Marconi is just on the last turn now and braking very smoothly up to the 4th gear. The last turn up to P5 for him. What is Massa's able to do, and he's going to be able to jump up to P4. We have little Juan coming across the line, P3 for him. The Ferrari driver is putting himself up to a very strong position. We have Fandango improved his lap time there, I think slightly, and he did. P3 once again, and Alpha is he still outside? Yes, but he's not improved his time, unfortunately, and that is it for him. We have Quick Killer coming across the line, and he improved by the time by a lot, and is P2 0.010 behind Alpha. What a close qualifying 3 are we witnessing. There is nothing in between the top 3.
It is immense. If you put those 3 lap times next to each other, you're very good to spot the difference between that. Only just over 200 between 3 drivers. That just shows how competitive this grid is. But it is Alpha, the reserve, on pole. Great lap by him.
Very impressive lap time for him, a 31.885 Alpha, and in the Mercedes taking the pole position here for USA, race number 4 in CRC 3. Quick Killer once again very quick, just able to get ahead of Leon. Quick Killer and finishing, starting in P2, Leon starting in P3, 0.024 seconds between the top 3, Fandango P4, Little Juan P5, Mazos P6, Riordan P7, Marconi P8, White Dog P9, and Nacho is finishing off the top 10. Unfortunately, he did spin out, he crashed out actually. He is starting at P10. What a lap times we've witnessed, and how close the grid is just showing the top 3 on the leaderboard. It is basically nothing in between the 3 of them, but everything that you have just seen, my dear viewers, is for nothing, because it is wet, and it looks like it is full wet, and that changes up everything.
It's completely different circuit almost. If you're used to racing in the dry and now full wet, and I think some drivers will have put on a wet setup as well, so maybe they will be a bit slower in qualifying, but now they will show their true pace in this race in the wet conditions with the setup. The likes of Dragon on speed, I'm begging to do something good here, starting from just outside the top 10. A lot of quick drivers actually starting outside the top 10, the likes of Jacko, Dragon as I mentioned, and of course Mark Wilson, we all have seen on the podium so far this season, Murphy as well. So that's 4 drivers who finished on the podiums in the first 3 rounds, knocked out in Q2. So they will be looking to cut their way through the pack with everyone now starting on the same tires. there won't be any advantage to the guys outside the top 10, so no disadvantage either for those in the top 10 who usually start on used tires, but now you can't really do that because it's wet, and if you start on slick tires, you will put it in the wall most likely.
Absolutely. If anyone is starting on slick tires in full wet, that must be a rather a big mistake or a very ambitious call from them. But we don't see this at all, and we have just been seen the confirmation from what we've just been talking about. It is full wet, and it's gonna make everything extremely difficult and very interesting as well. I would love to know if this is going to stay full wet or is it going to dry up. Anyone in the comments, if you know, please spam it in the comments. At the moment we have a wet start. What do you usually look out for wet, just to explain it to our viewers here, Bombje? In wet conditions, what is important if you want to drive around? Can you take the turns the same way? Do you go all the way down to lower gears, or how do you drive in wet?
Well, there are multiple factors that of course come in play when driving in the wet. If you're in the train, visibility, of course, it is a big factor. Can't see much if you have the spray of another car right in front of you. It's in this game, it is tough as well, especially with full wet. So that's one thing. The other thing is the curbs. He talked about it in the third section of qualifying, but with full wet, if you brake a little bit too much on the curb, you're gonna go straight on. There is no stopping that car. You have to brake earlier, you have to... different lines is an option, but it isn't necessary, as Alpha, by the way, has really bolted away from the pack. His tires are going to be very cold on that start, so expect him to drop down maybe a couple of positions, because he is going to be stationary on that grid for a long time. And you have to really be cautious on the throttle as well. With the start, with coming out of turns, there are some hairpins on this track, so especially the beginning of Sector 3. It is tricky on traction in the dry, so with full wet, you really have to be so much more cautious on the throttle to don't spin out. But you have to find the perfect balance between not spinning out but still maintaining pace, because if you're too cautious, you're gonna drop really far back.
Absolutely, dropping a bit further back as well. Leon is done the absolute opposite to Alpha. Just came to the start and finish line a little bit later. We will see the start very soon, as we'll just wait for the drivers to line up. We're gonna stay on board with Leon here for the start. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights on, and it's lights out, and away we go. A very risky start, and there's a spin. There is a crash already from two cars involved, and there's a massive incident. There are 2 DNFs from Riordan and Gautier live along, and another car as well has lost the front wing damage, and we have the safety car out straight away. As we said, the track can be extremely tricky for some drivers, for all the drivers, and unfortunately 2 drivers were not even able to make it up to the first turn of the race. Very unfortunate for Riordan and Gautier.
It was a messy start. Now Leon, he has dropped, Alpha has dropped as well, so I'm not really sure what happened there. Maybe just losing traction. But I saw a bit further back, I think it was Mezels, he couldn't get off his line. He was just stationary in P8, and a lot of drivers just hit the back of him and got wing damage. I'm sure a lot of drivers will be going into the pit. Penalties were dished out as well already to Mark Wilson and Cyril Nacho. That was a very hectic start. I thought for a moment we were maybe even gonna have a race restart, but that unfortunately isn't the case. But my mind still can't really comprehend that race start. There was
absolutely
so much chaos.
There was so much chaos. Absolutely agree there, Boom here. I did have a a memory as well from a race that we had in Tier 1. That was 2 seasons away in Russia. We had, I think, after in first turn 1, we had 6 DNFs. That was a massive red flag, and we did have to restart the race, which was a blessing for all of those drivers who crashed out. But unfortunately, we have only 2 drivers, so very unlucky for these drivers. And we see many drivers jumping into the pit, very likely because of some damage. But I just want to point out Hedgehog. We know him, he's a good starter, and he is improved by 14 positions before the safety car came out. That means he must have overtaken 14 cars before approaching turn 1, if I'm not mistaken, because the safety car came out extremely quick. So very good start here for Hedgehog, up to P5 if the graphic is not fooling us. Mark Wilson just behind, also improved by 9 positions. Tomo Tip Top also by 9 positions, and Drang by 8 positions. So wet conditions are very tricky, and you need to be extremely careful as we're all awaiting the next safety car, the first safety car restart. And at the same time, while we are waiting, I would like to do a big shout out to all of you guys in the chat as well, giving us update about the race. We've seen that the weather is very likely to dry up as well towards further the end of the race, so that might be very interesting towards the last 50% of the race.
Yeah, it was a baffling start. As indeed Hedgehog, he was the photo safety car got called out before I think the first drivers were even turning in for the first turn. He has made a very good start, just stayed out of the chaos. I think I saw a lot of drivers sideways as well in the pit wall even. So even before the pit lane ended, they couldn't even keep it straight. So that is the start in the wet for you. The traction is very abysmal in these situations, especially if you have those cold tires. Like Alpha had, he was far ahead of everyone else. He had cold tires. I think he lost out because of it. 12 positions lost for him. Leon as well, 14 positions lost. And interestingly enough, I've just witnessed Leon is on those intermediate tires. So it is really interesting to see. A lot of drivers actually, Jacko, Little One, and AFL all opting to go on intermediate tires. So I think it is gonna dry up. We were told it was gonna dry up after around 30 minutes. If it gradually dries up, Inters will be, I think, the best bet. You maybe lose some time at the start of the safety car restart, but we saw in France as well, playing the long game is more often smarter than playing the short game.
Absolutely, the long game is always coming along in a better way for the drivers who are a bit more careful around the track, around the grid. And we are awaiting the safety car to very likely get in this lap for now. But see if Hedgehog is able to stay on that position. Let's see if Leon is able to get back up to his previous position, and if we see some more action at the safety car restart. To all the drivers out on track, take it easy, rather lose a little bit more time rather than going for a dangerous move, and that will provide us a great racing. USA is one of the trickiest tracks, if you were to ask me, for my opinion, to drive in wet, because first, USA itself in dry, you have to be extremely careful for the warnings, and now in wet as well, it's even more riskier for the warnings on one side, and on the other side, of course, to lose the car control, as we've just seen the confirmation from the the race control, the safety car is in this lap. Thank you very much, FIA, and I can't wait for the restart.
Yeah, especially with these mixed conditions, indeed. Maybe the drivers can get the traction right this time, but last week's race winner, just to point it out, Riordan, already out now. The safety car has done more track time than two of our drivers. That is really unfortunate for them to see. But let's see when Quick Killer decides to go, as Gauthier Leffernon has left the session. Of course, with him DNFing, it isn't much use for him to watch this and just be in pain from seeing everything unfold here. But Quickly has, I think, kept it until the last corner. Indeed he has, and now he went. I think Wild Dog is always on the back of Fandango, as Fandango loses his car on the exit of the last turn, and he is into the wall, and that is his tire gone. So the pit wall claims another victim. This time not even on the start, but the traction proving to be very tricky, and that promotes every driver one position up. So this time it wasn't the internet for Fandango, this time it was the traction in the wet. He just couldn't get that right, but that meant Quick Killer now is already loose of Wild Dog. Of course, no DRS in these conditions, but it's still very good for the Indian driver to get away in these conditions already.
These conditions are very, very tricky, and we see as well that we have a few drivers who changed the tires. We have AFL, we have Jacko, Little Juan, and Leon. All four drivers decided to now is the perfect time to change from wet up to inter tire, and AFL is putting a lot of pressure on Murphy straight away. Very, very close behind him. As I said, we have no DRS, of course, in wet conditions, but there will be good opportunities as well for the drivers to make up some good positions. AFL, one of the drivers, actually in the best position on the inter drivers currently, but the question is it too early? Is it now perfectly timed? Is it gonna gain some time? Is the rain gonna ease up? So far we can see that they keep up the pace. They stay within the 1 second of DRS window, which is normally very important in a dry race. And we can see them as well putting some pressure onto the cars around. Murphy's going a little bit wide, and this gives up the AFL the opportunity to go on the inside, and is actually staying the inside as well. Beautiful move from AFL, and we see some drivers as well pitting, and all of them are wet tires users, and they're all changing up to inters. So this is the time now for all the drivers to change, but not everyone from the top is in the pit. But we see Mazzles has spun around, he is in the grass, unfortunately wrong, very, very unfortunate for him, currently on wet tires. So it is definitely inter time. That is going to change up everything at the front.
This with this virtual safety car as well right now. If it stays out long enough, I think the drivers who are still yet to pit will benefit a lot from that, because of course everyone has to keep to their delta and not go as fast. I think around 40% of their usual speed. But the most insane part, even before the pits for the inter tires, which were regular stops, we only had 7 drivers after lap 1 who didn't pit, as the virtual safety car has gone, and Dragon on Speed is really far ahead of everyone else. But I think AFL is currently in that net P1 as the Dragon almost loses the car, as a little battle went on just behind him with Mark Wilson and Hedgehog cutting that turn a little bit. So I think that is a warning for the Mercedes driver, where you want to pick that up. Really want to keep your warnings for as late as possible, as Murphy and Little One going side to side into sector 3, and Murphy has spun on those wet tires. Jacko went through, but Murphy collected Leon. I don't think there was any damage involved in that, but Leon has lost a lot of time because of it, has lost the connection to Jacko and Little One and an AFL, the front inter runners. So they are all away now. Dragon on Speed has decided to come in, but Mark Wilson and Hedgehog, interestingly, staying out, as is Tomo Tip Top. So maybe it isn't time for Inters just yet. Let's see if AFL can keep up with Thomas Titop. I think he has, very good traction on those Inter. It is definitely time for Inters, and those who are yet to pit, I think, made the wrong strategy choice.
I probably have to agree there with you. Unfortunately, the three leading cars right now have made the wrong decision. That is the question that we see, but we unfortunately don't talk with Jeff. We don't know what the weather conditions are, but AFL is improving his time as he's getting very, very close to Tomo Tip Top, and it's a 3 wide almost into the next turn. It was for his second. Little Juan is making up 2 positions there. Very strong for him. Is he able to take another position as well from Hedgehog? AFL just behind. This is a 3-man battle for current P2, and Mark Wilson staying out of everything. Very, very late braking for Little Juan, is going over the curb. Beautiful overtake, but Hedgehog is not giving up so far, leaving a lot of space on the outside. Little Juan is just cruising around the Mercedes driver, and AFL is doing a dive bomb as well into the middle, is giving the space on the outside. Fair driving from everyone on the grid at the moment. Little Juan is already up and ahead of Mark Wilson and is a lead in the Grand Prix even before Mark Wilson has a chance to go into the pit. So Inter tires are absolutely the right call and very crucial to make as well. Mark Wilson is going into the pit, as well as Hedgehog and Tomo Tiptop. They have lost a lot of time there, unfortunately not going into the pit early enough, but Mark Wilson is able to serve his 5-second time penalty as well, which will push him further down the grid as well. Everyone is on intermediate tires, and Little Juan is leading the Grand Prix in Inter condition in USA Race 4. What a turnaround.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how fast things can happen in Formula 1, in league racing as well. As you all just saw, Little One. AFL was the front intermediate runner, but Little One just cut his way through the traffic just that bit faster. Overtook AFL in the mix of it as well, and now almost 2 seconds clear from the Red Bull. And Leon, he has dropped back from the first incident all the way down to last position, but now in P5 he really made the right strategy call. The same thing can't really be said about Hedgehog, unfortunately. With that good start, he started P19 all the way on the last row of the grid, dead last even, with 19 drivers only. Mark Wilson, interestingly, by the way, I think he has fitted the wrong tires. He has come out on new set of wet tires, and that is gonna cost him a lot, as Mazels has gone for a spin once again, really not liking these wet conditions around the circuit of the Americas. Unfortunately for that Williams driver, Wild Dog putting a lot of pressure on Leon, as Leon has gone off track and a bit deep as well into the last turn. Does that allow Wild Dog to get a good exit and have a go at the Red Bull driver into turn 1? I don't think he is just close enough, but he actually is gonna try it, and very, very deep, from very deep, he has made a move, and Leon has just to stick behind. A little bit of a voice crack there for myself as well, but it was such a deep launch from the Ferrari. Very good move from him, and great racing by Leon as well, leaving the space for Wildhoek to go into and making that move stick and not colliding with each other.
Absolutely beautiful to see from the two driver here on track. Wild Dog and Leon is definitely providing some entertainment for all of us, and even too much for a few people to handle. It is absolutely fine. We have every part of every age group in CRL, so Bumpia is also now approaching his voice cracking time, so welcome to the mature part of the world. But jumping No problem at all, but I just want to point out here a great performance from AFL. He improved his position by 16 places, started P18, now up to P2, and is even closing up to Little Juan. Very, very impressive from the Red Bull driver, currently just 3.6 seconds behind, but as you can see, it is so tricky to get the braking right, because if you just brake slightly too late and you drive with ABS off, it is extremely easy for you to lock up or to lose your car control as well, even if you don't have ABS off, as we also know that these few drivers have it still on, which is absolutely fine, because racing this car around the track is by itself difficult enough. So what we see here is the absolute best that every single driver can do, and everyone is struggling a lot. It is so tricky, the condition, but AFL is doing a great job so far. P16 at this moment, and we see a overtake or a battle between Quick Killer and Jacko.
Yeah, it was a really audacious overtake from that Aston Martin driver into turn 11. Not really a place you often see overtakes if you are so far back, but he has made the move stick. Came from really deep and has made his way up to the podium positions, and now chasing after AFL. Really, those fresh intermediate tires working a treat for Quick Killer, as maybe he is on for a P2 here if he can make his way past AFL. We've seen that overtaking isn't a problem for him, as it usually tends to be in these wet conditions, as dragging on speed, also on fresh intermediates, all over the back of Leon. So I think it is a very huge difference if your old Inters had that right strategy call, went early to the green wall tires, but now you're gonna lose a lot of pace to all the other drivers who didn't have the right strategy call, but now have got more pace than you.
Absolutely, very close battling from the two drivers. We'll have to see this here. Both drivers are struggling a lot with the acceleration here. Leon just out of turn 1 on the exit. He saw it slightly correction, and Dragon is just cruising up on him, putting a lot of pressure on him. It is not only mental pressure, but also a little touch there from Dragon to remind him, Leon, come on, the right pedal is the one to accelerate. And we see a DNF. We have Alpha, who had an incredible pace in qualifying, unfortunately crashed out, and it is another safety car.
Yeah, he just dropped it out of turn 10, a very tricky traction zone as well there, as is the case on almost every corner on this track, especially with the wet conditions. But the safety car comes out indeed, and it is going to be interesting to see if drivers decide to pit on fresh set of intermediate tires. Of course, Mazzles is one of those who decides to do it that last. There's no really explanation to not pit if there's a safety car and you're in last place. But he, interestingly, fits the medium compound tires. I don't know if that's a mistake or if he thinks the track is gonna be dry enough. The little one stays out. What is AFL gonna do? Looks like he's staying out as well.
Very interesting
Quick
call.
Killer though, he is going into the pit.
Let's see what Quick Killer is going to take on. As he said, very interesting to see which tires are they going to change onto, and is it gonna look for, is this the Inter time is over. It is slick time now. Everyone is changing up the tires, and we're gonna see loads of Inter onto medium tires. We have 4 drivers already into the pit. Are we gonna see any more? No, we're not. So the question is, Are these tires the right one at this moment of time? Is it gonna dry up at the end of the safety car? This is gonna be probably within plus two laps, maybe restart beginning lap 14 or lap 13?
I think around that time indeed, and interestingly, Leon, the only driver who has decided to come in and put on a fresh set of intermediate tires. But coming out of turn 1, McConey has lost the car as well. Dog, I think, has gone round on those medium tires behind the safety car, spinning. Of course, it can happen to the best of us. But on slick tires, he has found it very tricky to put the power down, and he has gone for a spin, so he has lost a lot of positions by going onto the medium tires. But Leon on the inters, definitely still time right now for those green tires. I think the medium tires still way too slow currently. But the big question is, after the safety car restart, can those drivers on the inters pull out something like a 22-second gap on the drivers who already have pitted in between the safety car restart and a dry period? The one thing that they don't need is another safety car right after this one, because then drivers on the slick tires like Quick Killer, like Marconi, Wild Dog, Mark Wilson and Mazzles will be in a very good position. But if not, if the track stays a little bit wet, which we also see, as I think that is the leader, the little one, heads into the pit, and surely to fit a set of dry tires as well. Is that the right strategy call? We still don't know. I think no one really knows right now who has got the best out of this strategy, out of the safety car. But a little one as well, going onto medium tires. It is slick tires right now on a wet track. We saw it as well in France, in Australia as well. 3 out of the 4 races right now have proved interesting with the rain. Of course, Australia the only one where you didn't need to go on slick tires. Italy was pretty straightforward, all dry. 3 out of 4 races have been wet. Not really what you see normally in the actual F1. So I think the game has got it a bit wrong with the ratio on which the rain comes out. Wild Dog now going out of the pit. He has changed his front wing, so his spin proved even more costly than just positions. Ferrari have had to change a new wing as well. So he is one front wing less right now.
There's a lot of struggling going out there for a few drivers there, and it's a risky call to make as well, to go on to slick tires. Currently we have a few drivers who are gonna make the call, they're gonna commit to it, and I am wondering if the weather that we see above now, is that the sun coming through the clouds? Is it just me, or is it a bit getting a little bit lighter and brighter out there?
It's definitely still overcast, but I think the sun is indeed just making its way through the clouds.
Might be the raindrops as well decreasing on the display. So the question is, what about the other drivers? Are they gonna go into the pit right now at the safety car restart? Because if they stay out, they have to be committed that these tires are the right tires for the next more than 5 to 10 laps. Everyone is still out, not everyone, but the majority is still out on inters, and they're gonna lose a lot of time.
Pitting.
Are they gonna pit?
They fell Jacko both into the pit.
They're all
train
pitting.
as well.
They're all pitting.
They indeed are. So Quick Killer, Little One, and all the medium runners have done a master stroke on strategy here.
Wow. What a masterclass that was. And that changes up the grid entirely. Absolutely. We have Quick Killer, Lil Juan and Marconi up into P1, 2 and 3. AFL is staying into the top 5 now, down to P4, and Jacko's P5. But that was a masterclass, as you said yourself, Pompier. Quick Killer taking the lead of the Grand Prix now. But that does not mean that you can relax, because you are the first car on track, who is going to make the try where to brake properly for the turns. Just because it's drying up, it's not dry yet. You gotta be very, very careful. And the question is, are we gonna see the driver able to warm up the tires? I can see somewhere around 65 to 70 degrees there on Quick Killer's tires there at the moment. So very, very tricky and difficult for everyone out on track.
Yeah, tire temperatures are incredibly difficult to keep up to a normal situation, especially behind a safety car. It's tough enough, but now with those wet tires as well, it is even more difficult to keep those tires up to temperature. It is a very big ask. The safety car comes in this lap. It is a bit late, but that's of course with Mazzles just now coming on the back of the grid. So let's see where Quick Killer decides to go.
And out of nowhere, it is all dry on track as it looks like. And we have everyone on medium tires. Lap 13, the safety car is in this lap. Quick Killer is leading the Grand Prix. And like Strauss said in the chat, in the comments, this race, and yes, indeed, what the race this has been. It has been a interesting race to see in from the beginning onwards, and even in qualifying they have not disappointed us at all. And Quick Killer is off, away he goes. We have Le Juan and Marconi following. AFL is having a better exit than Marconi, and is going straight onto the inside line into turn number 1. AFL is braking a little bit earlier than Marconi. Marconi is going very wide there on the curb on the exit, but AFL is definitely making the move. Yes, we see another overtake attempt from Jacko onto Marconi. Marconi this time is defending his position and staying in the top 5, currently P4, and AFL has to now close the gap down to Lil Juan and Quick Killer, 1.8 seconds already behind.
Yeah, I think the battle for the lead is definitely on between those two drivers currently in P1 and 2. 1.8 seconds and now almost 2 seconds. It is very difficult to close that gap up as Jacko is looking all over the rear of Marconi. But as I say, that little one is going for a move on Quick Killer. So let's hop on board with that. Going into turn 12, Quick Killer defends the inside and he is fully ahead, I think. But now Little One has decided to go for a move into turn 13 and 14, switching now to turn 15 with a left-hander. And Little One has positioned that Ferrari beautifully. Quick Killer couldn't make any amends to go dive down the inside, as I think that's Jacko falling down the order together with Warrior Huntsman. Jacko went for a spin. Warrior Huntsman, I don't really know what happened there, but it looks like he has gone wide, so maybe a bit of damage on that car as Murphy as well hasn't made the best of laps there. Warrior Huntsman indeed going into the pit. Little One footing the fastest lap time as AFL already clear of Marconi as well, so he doesn't have to worry about what's behind him. Mazzle's very close to Wild Dog. Wild Dog really lost out because of that spin. He was one of the first drivers to fit the medium tires. I think he was in a net P2, maybe P3, one of those two, but now he finds himself outside of the top 10 in P12. So he has got very unlucky with the spin behind the safety cars. The battle for P6 heats up as well, with Hedgehog and Leon right behind them. Hedgehog, of course, one of those who also didn't get the strategy right the first time, but now he finds himself back up into P7. A roller coaster of a race for the Mercedes driver. Quick Killer maybe looking for a move on Little One, but not yet. He is waiting for the DRS. Little One already down under the 30% mark of his ERS. Quick Killer staying above that 70%, so he is gonna have a lot more power in the back of his car, as Nacho and Hedgehog going for a battle into turn 3, side to side. Hedgehog on the outside. I think Leon is gonna try to make a bit of profit of this battle, going for a switchback, maybe trying to get that better traction down, but he just about couldn't. So that settles down for the moment. Let's see what can happen in the next lap, as Murphy has gone very wide, almost hit the rear of Mark Wilson coming through. I think Murphy has got damage there.
Definitely, it almost looks like that the car is smoking there if we were to go on the onboard of Wild Dog himself. Still in DRS, and I do think that we see the DRS being applied very soon. Wild Dog and Murphy having a great battle into turn 1, but it costed a lot of time. Mazzles putting pressure on Wild Dog, but does not want to risk a too wide into the S section. Definitely one of these sections which are most difficult to make it out alive side by side without any damage. But if you do, it's a lot of fun. But talking about fun, that is something that Wild Dog does not have at this moment, as he's spinning out of the exit of sector 1. Unfortunately drops down to P14. Not a good race so far for the one Ferrari driver who's P14. On the other hand, we have Lil Juan, who is P1 at the moment and defending against Quick Killer. Aston Martin is very close behind him.
Yeah, so we see a couple of battles now forming as the sun gets out behind those clouds, showing itself Leon very close to the back of Hedgehog, as he was a couple of sectors ago, gave him a little bit of a love tap on the rear, just letting him know that, hey, I'm here, watch out for me, I'm coming to get you if I get the opportunity. As Leon now, he has the opportunity with that better exit. Both have DRS, but Leon has got a bit more straight line. He has broke a little bit of later wheel banging going on between both drivers. Hedgehog going out wide and has to concede the position to Leon, who makes his way up into P7, and next target for him is Nacho in P6.
Nacho is trying to defend, but has no dirty air like Leon does. It's very tricky in the S section as well. If you stay behind someone, currently you want to be maybe 3 or 4 tenths behind someone to not have that much dirty air, and Leon is making a next attempt for next overtake, is pushing a lot of ERS as well as Nacho is, but with the DRS support, Leon is easily gonna make the overtake, as well as we have another overtake and battle from Tomo Tip Top and Hedgehog behind. But Leon and Nacho are still side by side. Very beautiful. Nacho braking very late. Still side by side. He slightly went off track there. And now Leon is conceding the position. Nacho cuts the corner by a lot, which gave him a time penalty. Leon is going around the outside of the penultimate turn. And he does go slightly off line, off track. But stays there, stays ahead. Is P6 and he does. Does he get the DRS? No one gets the DRS. So another interesting bug from the game, but in the end Leon has improved his position by another place up to P6.
Yeah, one driver also who has made some moves but in the wrong direction was Hedgehog. Moments ago he was battling with Leon for P7, but now the Mercedes driver finds himself all the way down in P10. So I think his pace is just not really there. But still, without any penalty, looking very good for maybe a decent result. Maybe with a late safety car is dragging on speed on the back of Marconi, as is the little one for Quick Killer. Will we see another change of the lead as the little one gets a penalty for exceeding track limits on the straight as Dragon Speed makes the move. Quick Killer staying ahead though. The other one going around the outside there. Does he make this move stick? On to turn 15 we go. And yes, he does. Fully ahead now of Quick Killer, but the penalty really won't come in handy right now, as if Quick Killer just stays at the back of the Ferrari, and keeps it on the black stuff, he will win this race purely because of penalties. As is the same for Dragon Speed, he has picked up penalties. Well, to be honest, I thought we would be seeing a little bit more penalties at this stage of the race, but of course the safety car has helped to prevent that as well. Wild Dog has gone for another spin, down to P15 now, so this race really hasn't gone his way. Quick Killer on the back still of Little One with more DRS as well, so I think there is going to be another change for the lead on the back straight this lap.
Definitely a interesting race. We see red, or all the drivers see red at the front of the grid in terms of the little Juan of the Ferrari driver currently battling with Quick Killer. Unfortunately has 3 seconds time penalty, and Wild Dog unfortunately the opposite is at the back. But this is the last call that you want to do. Keep driving because you never know what happens. USA is a track where you see loads of safety cars very, very quick, as you have just witnessed all yourself. So stay out and keep driving, keep testing your limit, and it's just improving your experience. It is just, you're just here for some enjoyment, some battling on track, and just enjoy other fair driver out there to give a chance to compete with, and competing a lot. We see Mazzles now as well, with Mark Wilson just behind Mazzles P10, and as you said before, the penalties have surprisingly been very low, which is a great sign for all the drivers. We see another swap as well at the front between Juan and Quick Killer. They love to battle their position, but this is only giving AFL the opportunity to close up. The question is 8 laps to go. First, who is able to save more ERS? Second, how much P1 and P2 are going to battle? And third, how about time penalties? As we see another battle from P1 and P2, which gives ASL the opportunity to improve his, or to shorten his distance to the driver ahead by a full 3/10. So as always the question on the one side, do you want to fight him, or do you just or do you have to fight him, or do you just want to fight the driver on track? And we see some more battles as well. Mazzles is all over Mark Wilson's rear. Shortly a side-by-side battle into turn 12, but Mark Wilson gladly for his side defended his position. On the other side, he does have a 3 seconds time penalty, as well as Nacho ahead. So maybe working together and hopefully catching the cars ahead might be also a good strategy. But I am not the one who to make the calls here, and the drivers out there are the one who make the decisions.
Yeah, indeed they are. I think on the tip top. Lost 2 positions to both Mark Wilson and Mazzles on the back straight. Of course, with having no DRS, it is very tough to defend your position on the straight line, as Mazzles has gone for a very good move on Mark Wilson, who just had a bit of oversteer. So Mazzles has got his way up into P8 in Sector 1. Not really a place you see many overtakes happening, but it's a very good move from him, now pushing to get DRS as well from the next Alpine car, as he looks to get that. I don't think he has it though, just missed out by around 18 thousandths of a second. And a while ago as well, Murphy and Hedgehog were battling, and I don't really know if they collided. Leon make the move on AFL, his teammate. I'm not 100% sure if they collided, but Murphy spun on the exit of turn 18, just coming into turn 19, has got wing damage, so he went into the pit lane onto soft tires and now is running all the way down in P14. It's not really the race he wants to see, as Hedgehog continues to slide down further.
Definitely, we have Dragon on speed and is getting chased here from Leon and AFL, both in the Red Bull. We saw Dragon on speed there for a second as a sandwich by both Red Bull drivers on the long straight, but was able to overtake Leon and is now able to push, hopefully to catch the two drivers out in front and close down the gap to them. He's already increasing the distance slightly to his Red Bull rival behind him. He's closing up the time as well to the front guys. So the question is, are they going to be able to catch up on time? At 6 laps to go, and we are approaching the last session of the race. Dragon now doesn't have any DRS, Leon does, which will conclude in Dragon defending into the middle position. Leon is braking a little bit later, and Dragon is trying a switchback, which almost worked, but Leon just got a better exit. Beautiful driving from the two drivers here. Good attempt, but the Red Bull is just taking the position back again on the next lap on the straight.
Yeah, indeed it was. I think Leon's drive after that safety car has gone a bit under the radar. He was one of the drivers who pit under the safety car while everyone was going onto medium tires to see out this race on slick conditions. But he didn't pit to the mediums. That was only with his second stop of the race. He first went on a fresh set of intermediates again. So he was really far down the order after the safety car, but he has made his way to P3 and net P2 as well with the penalty of Little One. So he has got amazing drive from our championship leader. With the pace he has now, closing in on the Little One as well, who has lost the DRS of Quick Killer. I think Quick Killer will have a plain sailing victory if it stays like this, of course. But Leon has showed his pace. He really wants to prove what he can do. Wants to win this championship as well in tier 3, and he currently of course has the best papers to do it as well.
Definitely looking very, very strong. Red Bull driver now back up to P3, came across a Dragon and is pulling them along onto the other cars ahead. A very, very strong strategy. 1.4, 1.5 seconds there behind the Ferrari, and very relatively low on ERS, has really pushed a lot, but you could see this as well by the position in changes from him. Actually, he started in P3. He's the only driver who started on P3 and is on the same position as well. But his teammate is looking very, very strong still. AFL 13 positions improved there currently in P5. No time penalties. We have Lil Juan and Dragon both on, I think it is 3 seconds time penalties. And it is, yes, the question is how many warnings did they have? How much are they going to push? How much ERS are going to use? The last few laps, the last 4 laps of the race are approaching us, and we still see some more battles as well. McConaughey is still behind AFL, very, very close there, as we have some weird graphics there as well on the side, but McConaughey is putting some pressure on, can save some ERS, and is looking for an overtake probably towards the end of the race.
And is Little One, he has closed the gap back up to Quick Killer, and they went side to side into turn 12, but the Ferrari just wasn't close enough yet to make that move. But this isn't really for position unless Quick Killer picks up a penalty as well in the last few stages of the race as well, dog. I think these 3 turns, turn 16 to turn 18, has become his personal enemy, as he goes for another spin with his tires overheating a lot, letting the cars lap him. I think going into the pit, this race has become a nightmare for Wild Dog. Unfortunately for him, after being on the podium in France and having a pretty good result in Italy as well, I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but this race is one to forget for him. At least he will pick up one single point for finishing P15 with P16 and downwards all having retired. Picks up another 3-second time penalty for good measure. But now Leon, interestingly, he has closed the gap to the top 2. So it is going to be a 3-way show down to the end for this race win. And that isn't the only battle. I think P6 and P5 is also still on the table, which would turn into P4 and maybe even a podium position. So Makoni is overtaking AFL as Little One, and Quickiller again going side to side. But Makoni and AFL also side to side. So 2 battles now to keep an eye on. Makoni has gotten past AFL. Let's see the gap between the leader and Makoni. It is right now 4.78 seconds, something around there. If the leaders battle hard enough in these last 3 laps, Makoni maybe can pick up the scraps, close 1.7 seconds and get on that podium.
That would be a great result for Makoni, currently in P5, and yes, it is 4.7 seconds for the Haas driver, just behind the current leader of the little Juan, who has 3 seconds time penalty. And if you battle that much like they do, it is definitely possible for Makoni to still finish on a podium position, considering everyone is keeping the pressure up, everyone is keep going for some overtake moves, and just at the moment he's dropping out a little bit as Little Juan is making a bigger distance to Quickiller behind, is getting a quicker exit as well, but the DRS is going to help Quickiller once again to stay with him, and Leon is putting some pressure on Quickiller now, but both are getting only very close and very low of the ERS, as well as they reach under 15%.
Makoni as well, he made his way past Dragon on speed. He really has some pace in that Haas car. He may be on for a podium, but he has some time to gain. 1.7 seconds to Little One. He has to close up as Wild Dog now that he puts an end to his misery, retires from the race at the end of the S section. Unfortunately, no points for him though. If he just would have driven safe, very cautious, at least 1 point, but now a DNF, it caps off his weekend perfectly, in all honesty. But let's keep an eye on the battle for the lead in these last 2 laps with Little One, Quickiller and Leon. But realistically, it's only Quickiller and Leon with a shout for the race win as Hedgehog, also with an abysmal race off in the slick period, has got a penalty. And Leon really cutting that curb. I think he has got a warning. I'm quickly gonna check if that is his second warning, and indeed it is. So I think all the drivers in the top 6 have either now got a penalty or on 2 warnings. So everyone really has to watch out where they position their car, because it can be the difference between a race win and not even being on the podium, as Quickiller now makes a move on Little One once again.
Oh, what a dive as well from Quickiller. What a late breaking move from him, trying to brake much later than the Ferrari. And now he has picked up a 3 seconds time penalty, and a little touch as well forces him to go off track, which gives Leon the opportunity to push here. And this is giving him the opportunity to lead the Grand Prix. Makoni once again 4.7 seconds behind. There's not enough battling going on. However, we feel like it is every single turn, and once again Leon is just giving Juan a little touch there as well to say, come on, it is the last lap, get it around and get it over with. We need to hurry up.
hit the back of Leon. Sorry to interrupt you there, but Quickler has gone very late on the brakes. He has tapped Leon round, and he was waiting for him to get going again, but Leon was around too much. So Quickler now is under threat from Dragon on speed, as Leon actually, he is in second place. So Quickler was slowing down a bit too much, as Leon as well picked up a 3-second time penalty. And now McConey is definitely on for a podium.
He is absolutely on for a podium indeed. He's just behind. That is going to be P3, if I'm not mistaken.
I think
Is it
actually
P2?
because now the gap between McConey and Leon is 2.5 as Dragon loses the back of the car. So McConey gets another position on track, but the gap between himself and Leon is just over 2.5 seconds. So if the house driver makes no mistake in that final sector, he will find himself in P2 as AFL makes his way through as well. The podium for AFL isn't even out of the question here.
That is absolutely true. We totally forgot about him there, because Quickler is just about ahead of him, as well as Leon is. There's definitely gonna be a bigger change in the podium positions over here. We will see little Juan now approaching the start and finish line, but he's gonna, is he waiting? He was waiting there for
down a little
a
bit.
little
but I
bit.
think it was
Just
enough for
slightly.
him to win
McConey
this
P3.
race.
Wow, Juan is taking the victory here for him. Leon is up to P2, McConey P3, AFL finish in P4. What an incredible performance for him, 14 positions. Just to point it out once again, Mazzles improved by 1 position, P5, Quickler. Unfortunately, at the very end, I think at the last 3 laps, there was just a lot too much pressure there for him. He unfortunately lost some time and dropped down to P6. Dragon on speed, P7, Nacho P8, Mark Wilson recovered to a P9, actually a P8. No, that is just a little bug. For some reason it does show that that someone just got disqualified, but we're just going to ignore it and continue. Rory Huntsman behind Mark Wilson, Tomo Tiptop, then Jacko, Hedgehog, and Little Juan was jumped down by the bug. And who finished last? Last but not least, we have that is concluding the USA race in CRC 3, and what a race it was. We started with a very close qualifying, jumped into a start, a very wet and tricky start as well, on and very early safety car as well. Lots have happened, but in the end we have our podium sitters, and it is Leon it is not Leon, it is Juan taking the victory here. I do apologize, this is just a bug. We have little Juan P1, Leon P2, and McConey P3. Little Juan is P1 here. What a race, and what the end of the race once again.
It was the last few laps were as crazy as the first couple of laps. Still, what an amazing race this was once again, with the last laps contact between the couple of leaders. There was penalties being dished out left, right, and center. It was an unbelievable race, all in all.
What a race indeed. And at the meantime, while we are having a look and then just enjoy this end result of the race, it was a very hectic race. A lot of action happened. We are going to have a look and a quick shout out to the guys on the podium position to invite them all for an interview. Hopefully they're going to join us. If I can ask you, Bumpy, to add them to us, that would be absolutely amazing. We're just going to wait for a little moment. But what a race! What a race! Who was the driver in your perspective that came across very, very strong then today over the entire session there, if you have a driver at all.
Well, there was so much happening. I can't really pick one out. Quick Killer, of course, he was fast throughout the whole race, but then just dropped it on the last few laps. AFL with a very strong drive, all in all, from start to finish, went to P4 on at the end. We can't count out the race winner as well, Little One, who just joined here as well for the podium interviews for driver of the day. Maybe it is a very tough choice between well 4 or 5 drivers, maybe even for driver of the day here.
What a race, what a race. And absolutely a big congratulations there from us to Little Juan, who is the very first one who joined the interview as well. Little Juan, I hope you can hear us, and hopefully everything is going to work out very well. Congratulations, what a race that was. Juan, why don't you just share some thoughts, share your feelings? Are you sweating at all?
Yeah, I definitely am. First race that I've done after coming back. I took a season off, and I'm genuinely speechless. I can't believe that I've ended up winning it. I thought I was going to get a podium because I don't know whether you saw it on the stream, but I let Quick Killer go around about like 20ish, around about that region. I let him go because he was faster than me, and I just didn't want to lose time to the guys behind. I just wanted to keep a podium. But somehow managed to gain a bit of pace on the warm mediums, set my fastest first sector on the second to last lap, I think it was, or something like that. And I just found myself in the right place at the right time, I guess.
Very, very impressive driving there from you. There was a lot of position changes and a lot of battling as well going on at the front, which gave Leon then the chance as well to catch up. Very impressive there from the chaser as well. But Juan, to stay with you there. You mentioned as well that you let Quick Killer pass. Can I assume that it was just maybe a little bit too much battling, or were you just like, oh, I need to get past him, and you were pushing a lot there before you've made your decision?
Yeah, it was. We were battling a little too much for my liking, and I think it was AFL at the time was roughly about 2.5 seconds behind me, and I needed to bridge a 3-second gap. So I let him go. Managed to pick up a bit of pace, build the gap to about 4 seconds, which then gave me a bit of a buffer to battle, just in case I needed it. And then thankfully I did need that little bit of a buffer. So
definitely very impressive there from you. Got chased down from 2 Red Bull drivers, first AFL and then the next person himself, Leon, who's also here. 2 Red Bull drivers, very, very impressive driving from you, Leon. If you want to talk us through your last couple of laps, I think there was a lot of pressure that you wanted to put on the guys ahead.
So yeah, I caught up to the guys ahead. Yeah, and all I wanted to do is just get past the Quick Killer. He was second at the time. Him and Juan had a little incident where Quick Killer went completely off track. Going into turn 1, the next literally 20 seconds later, Quick Killer dives it, and yeah, cost me the win really.
Absolute, very strong pace from you, but in the end you do take the victory. So close battles as well. And wow, Boomje, do you have anything that you wanted to ask them? Anything that came across?
Not really. I think you took the words out of my mouth.
Very impressive as well. Driving so far in USA. If we have a look at the next track, if we have a look at the calendar, Brazil, for a few drivers, they are already practicing for the race. But have you started some practice, or how do you usually feel in Brazil? Leon, if we want to start with you, what's your feeling with it?
Well, it's a mixed feeling for me with Brazil. You know, one race I have a very good race, the other one very shocking. Ideally, inter conditions throughout the whole race would be the best for Brazil, quali and race. That's ideal.
Yeah.
I didn't practice at all yet. I'll be practicing tomorrow, but honestly, not feeling too confident.
Fair enough. You don't need to practice before you have your race as well. Usually you start practicing as well 2 days after, as I would normally do. But thank you very much for your input. Juan, another Ferrari victory in Brazil, or can we expect something else?
I think possibly expecting something else on that one, Steiny. Brazil's not one of my favourite circuits. I think a full wet race would suit me quite nicely, but yeah, it's not a circuit that I kind of gel with.
Definitely a very, very tricky and risky circuit indeed. Brazil, a short circuit. It comes down to who's able to brake a little bit less and get earlier on the throttle. But with the last look at the standings, the current standings that we have, I just wanted to give Leon you the opportunity to share your thoughts about the championship. You feeling confident? Can you continue like this, or are there some guys that are getting closer and closer to you?
Oh yeah, no, I think I can win it. Oh, I definitely can win it. I can see like a few guys maybe coming in close in 2 or 3 races that may get like 1 or 2 wins this season, but I feel like I can win and dominate Lewis-esque, but we'll see.
Definitely. We will see next week in Interlagos when it's once again lights off and away we go. But that was it from my side. I once again was joined by my dear and lovely co-commentator, who actually had some fun as well counting my veries during the entire commentating, so I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it commentating with you alongside once again Bumpia, so big thank you from my side.
From my side as well, thank you a lot.
Wonderful. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching. If you're still watching, you're absolutely amazing. Please make sure to like the stream if you enjoyed it. If not, let us know in the comments what you didn't enjoy. We can definitely improve it. Hopefully we can improve the issues as well that we had at the beginning with the audio as usual, but I'm very glad that we at least have the graphics now working. Step number 1 is done, and step number 2 is from you guys. You need to be back with us on Thursday, because then it's once again lights off, and for the first time in Brazil for tier 1, myself and Bumpy are racing there, and tier 2, don't miss out when it's when we are back live. And until then, we will see you next time. Whew. Okay.